just my views of a realistic and futuristic thought of the humankind. Let us go back in time and let me give you the big picture of the origin of the universe and the human species itself. For the Western mind, time is linear. It is a straight line where time that has gone by is gone forever. Whereas for us in India, we believe that time is cyclical, and that in fact, anything that is born will die and will be reborn again. So we believe in the concept of rebirth and reincarnation. And so in our Bhagavatam Mahapurana, the universe is cyclical and has always existed and is ever expanding and will be destroyed, but will also be recreated. The Bhagavatam also describes how the universe is destroyed at the end of each cycle, when, as we all know, Lord Shiva performs his cosmic dance of destruction, known as the Tandav. The destruction of the universe is followed by a period of rest, according to the Puranas, and Lord Vishnu, after which he begins the process of creation again. We all know that. But as scientific evidence goes, the universe itself has existed for only a finite amount of time. The universe started with the Big Bang, as they call it, an estimated 13.7 billion years ago. These were followed later by nucleosynthesis, expansion, cooling, formation of galaxies, stars, planets, including the Earth, circa 4.5 billion years ago. The oldest undisputed fossils are about 3.5 billion years old. Evolution of more complex organisms was a slow process, as we all know, and scientific evidence proves that. It took some 1.4 billion years before the first multicellular organisms were born in the planet Earth. As far as humans go, the Homo habilis, as they were called, the first humans, evolved some 2 million years ago. The exact length of time that the human species, that is the Homo sapiens, the earliest known modern humans, emerged in Africa, roughly 300 to 350,000 years ago. The agricultural revolution began in the fertile crescent of the Middle East 10,000 years ago. The size of the human population was about 5 million when we were living as hunter-gatherers, as they call it, 10,000 years ago. By the first AD, human population had grown from 5 million to about 200 million. From 200 million to 1 billion, we took 1,835 years, which means in 1835, we became 1 billion. And today, in about 200 years, we have multiplied to over 7.9 billion humans in this planet. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you compress the time scales such that the Earth formed 1 year ago, very interesting numbers that will come about. 1 year ago, the Earth was formed. Then Homo sapiens evolved less than 12 minutes ago. Agriculture began less than 1 minute ago. The Industrial Revolution took place less than 2 seconds ago. The electronic computer was invented 0.4 seconds ago. And the internet less than 0.1 second ago, in the blink of an eye. So this gives you a gist of the time that humanity has existed the universe, the planet Earth has existed, and all that you see around us in a snapshot. Now, I shall briefly take you on to the few scenarios for humanity's future. The first is the challenge of extinction. Almost all the volumes of the universe is ultra, as we all know, is ultra high vacuum. And almost all of the tiny material specks in the vacuum are so hot or so cold or so dense or so dilute, they are absolutely inhospitable for organic life, including human life. Spatially as well as temporally, the situation of the human race as a whole is, shall I say, precarious. It is a fact that an estimated, and we all know this, and science has given us the numbers, it is estimated that 99.9% of all the species that existed on Earth are already extinct. I live in Germany, and Mr. Gopalan Ayan Mama, I'm sure, must know this. There is a museum near Düsseldorf, which is the Neanderthaler Museum. I go there very often because it takes me into a different world. And here you have the ability, I mean, this gives you the ability to kind of project the human future based on the best evidence, which is the Neanderthaler. Most researchers believe Neanderthalers emerged in Europe and West Asia around roughly 500,000 years ago. Neanderthalers were a type of archaic humans that lived alongside modern humans, the Homo sapiens, for tens of thousands of years. And in fact, there was even a little bit of crossbreeding between the two species. Ladies and gentlemen, Neanderthalers became extinct around 30,000 to 40,000 years ago. So what is the future of Homo sapiens? Can we become extinct? Well, as we all know, our species has survived volcanic eruptions, floods, natural hazards for tens of thousands of years. It seems unlikely that any of these old risks should exterminate us in the near future. But in my view, the greatest threat of existence of the humankind arises from human activity itself. And I like to begin with this biggest challenge, which is technology. In our restless quest to explore human civilization, we are introducing many novel phenomena into the world, ranging from nuclear weapons to designer virus, which allegedly the Chinese created, pathogens, artificial intelligence, and high energy particle colliders. Well, advances in biotechnology might make it possible to design new viruses. Molecular nanotechnology, as they say, might make it possible to create new weapon systems with a destructive power dwarfing that of both thermonuclear bombs and biowarfare agents. Super intelligent machines might be built, and their action could determine the future of humanity. Considering that many of these risks that now seem to be among the most significant, we must understand that they were all conceptualized only in the last few decades. And there are more inventions yet to come, more discoveries yet to be made. Obviously, the same technologies that will pose a risk will also help us to mitigate some of the risks. For instance, biotechnology can help us develop better diagnostic vaccines, antiviral drugs, Molecular nanotechnology could offer us, stronger power to prevent, cure diseases. Super intelligent machines would be far more effective than a human brain. I'm told in practically all intellectual endeavors, including strategic thinking, scientific analysis, technological creativity, etc. It is also a fact that from the time of the Industrial Revolution, humankind has experienced significant technological changes within their lifetimes. So most differences between our lives and the lives of hunter-gatherers are ultimately, on the advances that we made in technology and mind-blowing technology development. We all know that in the past roughly 6 generations, which is about 150 years, we have kind of made so much of advance, profound changes to the human species itself, which has never been experienced in the last 10,000 years of recorded history. So in a very short period, we have advanced. If the world economy continues to grow, according to me, at the same pace as in the last half a century, then by 2050 or 2060, the world would be 7 or 10 times richer than it is today. World population is predicted to increase to just over 9 billion in 2050 or so. And therefore, the average wealth would also be increasing and would be spread across the 9 billion population. Of course, in all this human history, the doubling time of the world economy has been drastically reduced on several occasions. We have seen that in the past in the agricultural transition and the industrial revolution that took place. So should another such transition or revolution occur this century, which is already happening, in fact, the world economy might be several orders of magnitude larger by the end of the century, by the end of this century. I also foresee various specific technological advances that will empower humans with new abilities. We're talking today of virtual reality environments, which will constitute an expanding fraction of our experience. The capability of recording, surveillance, biometrics, data mining, etc. will grow, making it increasingly feasible to keep track of, for governments especially, to keep track of where people go, who they meet, what they do, where they go, what goes on inside their minds, for example. And the scenario is quite scary because the surveillance is really growing everywhere. In fact, we could have, shall I say, intensive global surveillance systems which would be used to manipulate the direction of human development itself in a predetermined path. Among the most important potential developments that I see that would enable, is that the technologies that would enable us to alter biology directly through technological means. Such interventions could affect us profoundly. Now, if we learn to control, for instance, the human biochemical process, healthy lifespan of humans can be radically prolonged. The other example is the ancient quest of happiness could meet with success if scientists could develop safe and effective methods of controlling the brain circuitry responsible for subjective well-being. Drugs and other neurotechnologies could make it increasingly feasible for users to shape themselves into kind of humans they want to be by adjusting their personality, emotional character, mental energy, romantic achievements, and moral character, of course. Cognitive enhancements might deepen our intellectual lives. Nanotechnology will have wide-ranging consequences for manufacturing, medicine, and computing. Machine intelligence, they say, is another potential revolutionary technology. Eventually, ladies and gentlemen, we might be able to have, baby factories, if I can call them, where fertilized embryo is nurtured and developed in an external rented incubator or a factory, while the mother-to-be is busy working in her office and she's not carrying the baby. So, and perhaps even baby gestation period of 9 months might be shortened to 3 months. Technology will speak. Well, I wonder whether these technological interventions would alter the human condition in sufficiently fundamental ways to qualify as, shall I say, superhumans. Yes, I'm talking about a kind of a superhuman era which is about to come. Within the next 30 years, and take my word, we will have technological means to create superhuman intelligence. Now, what is this? Let me explain. The several possible avenues to superintelligence would include artificial intelligence, which is in a very basic stage of development now. We are using it. ChatGPT is being used all across the world. We already know 100 million users are using it. But what would happen in the future, probably in the next 30 years, according to me, is the possibility for having AI in your individual computers or computer networks, where you can upload and transfer your human mind to a computer. And if successful, this procedure would be a kind of a qualitative reproduction of the original mind with memory and personality all intact onto a computer, which would exist there as a software. In short, we may be able to upload our consciousness itself into the computer and defeat death. This mind consciousness kind of a development could probably also be programmed to a robotic body or live in a virtual reality. So these are mind-boggling events that are about to happen. However, as with every new breakthrough technology, there could be unforeseen consequences. If we begin to augment our brains with a kind of technology, we could become susceptible to hackers accessing our information, or worse, gaining control of our life itself. So the whole thing is mind-boggling. And it looks like, to me, it seems like human beings are trying to end up in an automated utopia, I can call it. There's the possibility that we could have everything we ever wanted. For instance, media, information, communication, entertainment, which is already happening. A whole virtual world without ever having to leave your home. And this we experienced, during the COVID times. And social skills could suffer. We might end up with a society of humans unable to, or even unwilling to interact with other humans. So these are the kind of future changes that could happen. Let me bring you back to the mundane plane of existence and turn you to the next challenge, which is education, skills, and the future of our children. Our children today are under constant, never-ending stress to be the smartest, brightest, and the fastest. They live in a kind of a hyper-competitive world. The human race is now required to understand themselves and their children as bits of human capital, So we've kind of fallen down to this level. And therefore, the humankind is now preparing itself and the children for a world of such unprecedented transformations and radical uncertainties. I'm not sure whether we are really doing enough to do justice to prepare ourselves for these uncertainties. But for instance, the questions that come are what should we teach our children today that will help them survive and flourish in the world of 2050 or even in the 22nd century, the next century? What kind of skills will our children need in order to get a job, understand what is happening around them, and navigate the maze of life? Much of what kids learn today will likely be irrelevant, according to me, by 2050. Unfortunately, nobody knows how the world will look in 2050 or even 2100. We don't know the answers to these questions. Of course, humans will never be able to predict the future with accuracy, but today, it is more difficult than ever before, because once technology enables us to engineer bodies, brains, minds, we can no longer be certain about anything, including things that previously kind of seemed fixed and eternal. We don't know what kind of people will be living in the 22nd century, which is not far away. We don't know how governments and bureaucracies will function. We don't know what gender relations will be like. For instance, in Germany, the German government is calling for a new self-determination law that would make it easier for people to legally change their genders and names. So it is worrying. At the same time, it's like an adventure where you don't know where what the future will bring in. So let me now turn to the other challenge, which is the state of the planet Earth, the environment and sustainability, which is being talked about everywhere, all around, and all governments, all heads of state are talking about it, and each one of us is contributing to kind of either pollute or to mitigate the pollution of the environment and the earth. Environmental threats then seem to have displaced even nuclear holocaust as a chief specter haunting the human imagination. Current day pessimists about the future often, and I don't belong to that category, often focus on environmental problems facing the growing world population and worrying about our wasteful and polluting ways of unsustainable and potentially ruinous, kind of style of life. In the recent years, the spotlight of environment concern has shifted to global climate change, carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases accumulating in the atmosphere, where they're already causing a warming of the Earth's climate. We are already seeing rising water levels. In the coming decades, it is believed that hundreds of cities along the coast, I'm sorry to say, but including Chennai and Bombay and Cochin, many cities along the coast worldwide will be submerged. Indeed, many past cases of societal collapse, as we all know, have involved environmental factors. I like to add 5 new factors that may contribute to the collapse of the present and the future societies. Human-caused climate change, as I've talked about it, the building up of toxic chemicals in the environment. A country like India, unfortunately, while we are growing and all of us are proud of what's happening in India, as the country grows, the amount of waste that we throw is also growing. And unfortunately, none of our governments, either at the federal level or the state level, is doing anything about this. We are burning our waste, causing toxic air, and there is no sensible way of disposal. Nobody is worrying about this. Nobody is bothered about it. And I worry about it because every time I go to India, I see what's happening there. And as the country grows, in fact, we are expected to grow to 9%, and probably the next few years, we will be a double-digit growth economy. I shudder to think what will happen as far as our waste disposal methods are concerned. And I think Indians must take note of this, and a little bit is being done here and there. There are islands of excellence, yes. But overall, I think the country's become a kind of a garbage bin, and the air is not clean anymore. Very, very sad state of affairs. So all this is going to have a huge impact on the survival of human race itself. Now, given our current rate of consumption, I'm talking of the planet, the current rate of consumption in this planet Earth, all of the fossil fuels will be completely depleted, and we all know that in less than 100 years, average of 100 years. If we continue this lifestyle on Earth for the next 100 years, life on Earth may become unsustainable. So humanity is now slowly but surely turning to become green. Everybody is talking about green, going green. But ladies and gentlemen, how green is green? Many countries who are racing to kind of install windmills and solar farms, to kind of neutralize the carbon emission score and change from dirty energy to clean energy, etc. The early starters of green energy are today struggling, are already facing the challenges of how to dispose of these systems, the waste from these systems. So 35 years ago, the windmills that were installed today are causing environmental hazards. It's very difficult to kind of recycle or even dispose a huge windmill, which, as we all know, runs to several hundred meters. Similarly, solar cells, solar panels, wind turbines, all these are causing a lot of, are producing a lot of waste, which is very, very hazardous. And countries that went in early into these green technologies are now struggling with the disposal part of it. Electric vehicles, which we are talking about and introducing everywhere, will bring in its own challenges. As the world is increasingly kind of embracing electric vehicles, that clean move comes with a lot of environmental challenges. In our race to change the climate, we are destroying the environment and starting a new war, according to me, over natural resources. I'm talking of rare earth, as we call it. And there are 17 rare earths that are needed in the various technologies that we employ today. And the chief supplier of all these rare earths are mainly, over 95% is from China. And right now it is about $10 billion industry, $10 or $15 billion industry. I'm not giving you a precise figure, but it's a guesstimate. And it is some 275 times or even 300 times less than the valuable oil that we use currently. But we have seen, I'm seeing a beginning of kind of a geopolitical war in the struggle to capture rare earth, and some of these elements like lithium, which are used in these batteries that go into electric vehicles. So it is a new war that is starting, and it is not going to be easy to even here deal with the geopolitics and the kind of tensions that are coming across between nations. So that is going green does not necessarily mean saving the planet or environment. We are just shifting from one poison to the other. Let me now turn to the most important, according to me, the global ethos, values, ethics, morality. For the human race, that was not very much changing over hundreds of years, hundreds of thousands of years. We are now changing every moment. And I was discussing with my father, who's 95 years old. He lives in Kalpati in Palghat, in a small village in Kerala. And he tells me that the current lot of mankind has no parallel to what has been happening to our world. And because he's seen it all, from the Great Depression to today, to the modern technology. And he's also evolved with this by adapting to several of the changes, including he's computer savvy and he sends me mails and he checks his portfolio, shares and everything. So he has his own blog and website. But what he says is that we live in very exciting and very dangerous times. And in our quest for material pleasures, we are running around clueless like headless chickens. And I would say he's right, because massive consumerism dictates most of our human activities and interactions today. For instance, clothes are no more to conceal delicate body parts. They are designed to reveal them. And they are also expensive. They have holes in their jeans, but it's expensive. Food is no more a health requirement. It is merely to satisfy the palate. And countries with better resources want to dominate the rest of the world. And the results are engineered troubles between neighboring countries. Selfishness, arrogance, anger, greed, fear are all the things that the human race has collected in our minds. And unfortunately, there's so much, all this, the gunas are so much directing our lives, our world, and our actions. And presently, the humankind is looking for happiness outside of themselves, chasing material comforts, indulging in petty pleasures, and there is an obscene display of wealth to satiate the ego. There is a race to attaining political and economic power at any cost when you go to the levels of the governments. There is illicit gratification by consuming drugs and dangerous substances to attain a cool, as they call it, or a high. Ladies and gentlemen, the drugs and substances industry is roughly $1 trillion and growing rapidly. My last point is on the erosion of ethos and values. In my school days, which is over 55 years ago, I had only one love, who I married later, Jayashri. And I had only two good friends who I turn to even today for sharing my happiness and anxieties. Social media like Facebook have changed, unfortunately, the meaning of love and the meaning of friends. And we all know how shallow the human society can become in these social media platforms. It is time, that we humans discard the illusion of discovering happiness in the material world and instead look inwards for the bliss that already exists within us. Our minds will then become clean, and then we can probably live with character and eternal values. That seems to be the greatest need for the world today, I think. And by eternal values, I mean values of compassion, character of integrity, all much needed for humanity. In conclusion, let me state that the entire Indian heritage of knowledge is founded wholly on seeking, on questioning oneself, and to arrive at the truth. Questioning was the foundation, as we all know, to acquire knowledge of the self and the universal spirit. And this led to the courageous revelation that each of us is a God particle that engineered this phenomenal universe that we see around us, and which in Advaita philosophy is known as Maya, and or it is just a mental perception. This is the reason why, as an Indian, claim no religion. I've been living here for about 30 years, and many people ask me what religion I follow. I say I have no religion. In India, we don't have a religion. We have Sanatana Dharma. So, and I have to explain to them what it means, which is a fantastic faith. And our ancient Indian Vedic dictum, which says Vasudeva Kudumbakam, meaning the entire universe is one holistic family. If we go on those, go back in time, and look at those kind of ideas and develop those ideas, then much of what we do in terms of technological development will all sound unnecessary. And because we ultimately in again Advaita, it says Tatakim, 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 Tatakim. What next? What next? What next? What next? That is the kind of the flux state in which the human mind is working. You have a car, then you need a Mercedes car. You have a Mercedes car, then you need a second car. You need a house, then you have a house, then you need a second house. So where does it all stop? Ultimately, we need to put an end to this. And humanity, therefore, needs to press a reset and change its course. We need to sustain the progress we've already achieved. Humanity must become united to face the new challenges that are emerging. We need to question the purpose of all the activity around us, as I already mentioned, and humanity must stand together instead of battling with each other. These are my thoughts, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.